Hello again, and welcome to Sprint or Die Radio. I am your host, Hunter Charneski, and today is a very, very special episode about someone I hold near and dear to my heart. If you've been following me for any length of time, I'm sure you have seen a tall, athletic, blonde middle school girl named Ellery somewhere on my timeline. Well, in this episode, we're going to peel the curtain back and share Ellery's story. I think you're going to get a lot out of it. I think it's going to be a tearjerker. I'm going to try my best not to well up while I share Ellery's story. And if there's one takeaway from today's episode, I think it'll be the reminder that if we pave our athletes' road with a strong relationship, it will always lead to results. But enough from me. Let's hit the intro, and then we'll dive into Ellery's story.
You are listening to Sprint or Die Radio, delivering the knowledge on all things speed training, coaching development, and life lessons. Passion perpetuates purpose. Here is your host, Hunter Charneski.
So if you've never been to Freak Factory before, my former business, picture a small firehouse, red brick garage in Jenison, Michigan. Okay, very not so grungy, but it's absolutely intimidating, right? There's rogue racks everywhere. The turf is blood red, right? And so it was the fall of 2017, and I was at the gym by myself, waiting to conduct what we call an intake interview, right? An athlete who comes in inquiring about training with their parents. So I was there at 9 a.m. on a Saturday, and in came this little girl, 12 years old, with her mom, Sarah, as shy as the day is long and scared to death. I remember her mom telling me when they pulled up, Ellery had looked at her mom and said, "Who is that?" And Sarah looked at her and said, "That's your new trainer, Hunter." Now, if you're watching on YouTube, you can, or if you've seen me on any videos or met me in person, right? If you don't know me, I'm sure I can come off a little intimidating, okay? But that's never the intention, right? So I don't blame her for not wanting to come and give me a hug on day one, right? But anyway, so in came this little girl, 12 years old, 3-sport athlete. Kudos to Sarah and Mark, her parents. And when I first saw this girl, I knew she had unlimited potential. Now, being a football player recruited by colleges and all that good stuff, you've heard coaches and recruiters talk about passing the eyeball test. Ellery passed the eyeball test, right? She didn't look like she was 12. She looked like she was at least a freshman, if not a sophomore in high school. Very muscular, very tall. Okay, I knew this girl had, the sky was the limit for her, right? So why'd they come to Freak Factory that day? What made Sarah and Ellery walk into this little red garage? I remember it like it was yesterday. Her mom looked at me and said, "She doesn't know what her thing is," right? We tried so many things with her. We've tried volleyball. We've tried soccer. We've tried basketball. We've tried a number of things, and we just can't seem to find her thing. And that was a big want for Ellery. She wanted to know what her thing was, right? A lot of sports came naturally to her, but she hadn't fallen in love with one, and she hadn't particularly become I don't want to say a master of one, but she hadn't truly flew off the charts in one arena as opposed to the next. Okay? And Sarah and I started talking as I was bringing Ellery through some of the tests and assessments that we had run our athletes through during an intake interview, and some of the problems this young girl was facing. It makes you shake your head at society, right? And just be like, what the hell is going on outside these walls, right? Because Thomas and I, when we sort of lived in a bubble, right? We were at the gym sun up to sundown some days, okay? And to hear what's going on with these children, especially these middle school girls, right, breaks your heart. So all the challenges that came with just being a middle school girl, right, socially, I mean, middle school girls are mean to each other, folks. That's a fact, right? Her coach, being a former player in the NFL, dude was a douchebag, okay? I'm just going to call it how it is. He's a douchebag, right? I hope he's listening, because he's... I wouldn't have him coach my daughter, we'll just say that. And Sarah would also talk to me about other girls picking on her, right? Nagging her. Not to mention everything that's going on with a young girl's anatomy during that time of her life, right? And on top of that, teammates playing more than her, and the opposition getting there first, right? They're faster, quicker. So she had a lot of struggles as a 12-year-old girl walking in to my facility. Talk about damaged goods, right? Poor thing. Like I said, it just makes your heart bleed. And, if there was one thing that they wanted, it was to get faster, right? We've talked about it before. You've heard me say it. I probably sound like a broken record. Speed is the ultimate performance enhancer. Okay? And not having that speed, not having that ability to surge or burst on the court, field, etc., right, left this little girl with little to no self-esteem, right? Her self-esteem was leaving her like tear ducts in her eyes as she cried. Zero confidence. And I'm extremely sensitive. I've always been this way. So I can only speak for myself. I don't know about you, but I felt morally obligated that we needed to help this young girl. She didn't deserve this. No middle school girl should have to deal with confidence issues, right? Those are extremely formative years for a young person. And to have to deal with confidence issues, it's a terrible thing. It can derail them for years to come. Right? So I felt it was our duty to help Ellery. She didn't deserve this. And, I won't say luckily for her. I think just the way fate had it. I could empathize with Ellery. Right? I wasn't nearly the athlete that Ellery was at 12 years old. Right? But I did have self-esteem issues. My mom had to shop in the Husky section, right? You bigger guys know what I'm talking about, okay? It's basically we're, you know, that borderline between fit and fat. Okay, you're husky. Okay, that's where my mom had to shop for me. I wasn't the best socially, right? I wasn't popular in school. That affected me. But I did know at 14 years old, right? I know what the weight room did for me when I walked in at 14. Okay? The only thing I would have done different is I wish I would have began sooner. But now I had the chance to pick up where I was left off at her age. Okay? She doesn't have to wait till she's 14. No, we can start right now. Right? And start literally building a young woman, right? With a foundation of self-esteem. Okay? You coaches in the industry know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You see, if you work with young women, middle school girls, you know what the weight room can do for them. You know what feeling fast can do for them, right? They see themselves start to physically change, right? They do an ISO chin-up hold for 5 more seconds this week than they did the last, okay? And that compound effect week after week after week after week creates confidence. So I can empathize with Ellery. And she started working with us immediately, right? And I think she began that very next week. And, it's nothing crazy, as most of the good coaches listening to this know, right? Simple works. Boring works. Vanilla is very effective. And so what happened with Ellery? Well, she started getting stronger, jumping higher, making more kills on the volleyball court. Still trying to figure out what a Euro step is on the basketball court, but she tried to explain it to me. I had my head spinning, right? But she was sharing stories about Euro stepping girls on the court. And I remember Sarah talking to me about these little mini victories that Ellery kept having. And when they would see it happen, right? When Sarah and Mark, her parents, were watching in the stands, right? Did you see that? That's Freak Factory. Did you see that? Right? So that was cool to hear. Because if there's one thing that you maybe didn't know about Ellery, is that young lady gets to work. Okay? She knows when to flip a switch and get after it. So all we had to do was literally give her the plan. This is where you're at, sweetheart. This is where we want you to go. All right? And here's the bridge to get there. And my God, she put in the work. But then we came to a bit of a crossroads, if you will. I was at my alma mater's indoor facility doing a sprint workout. It was early February 2018 in the morning. And there was a miscommunication between myself and Sarah as far as how the contract worked and payments for training. And her mom texted me saying that she couldn't afford to send Ellery to Freak Factory anymore. And immediately my workout was ruined, right? My workout was ruined. I wasn't in the right state to really get much out of it anymore because I was shooken, right? I don't know if shooken is a word, but I was shook, okay? Because we had fallen in love with Ellery. And I don't know if you're supposed to say that as a coach, but that little girl has my heart. And I just said to myself, there's no way we can lose her. So maybe a week, not even, went by, and I arranged a meeting with her mom, Starbucks, at Family Fare, which is a grocery store chain in Michigan. I got coffee with Sarah that morning, and I was just very truthful with her. I just told her that Ellery's too good of a person to lose. Okay? She lives and instills our core values. Take the stairs. Kaizen. She pays it forward. She's a phenomenal role model for our athletes her age, as well as the younger athletes and the new kids that would come to Freak Factory. Okay? And so I told her mom that we're going to scholarship Ellery. Yes, Ellery can come to Freak Factory for free. Because we can't lose her. The struggles that she was facing at her age, and the progress that she was able to make, as well as being a phenomenal young lady. That's the type of people I wanted in our facility. And the days and weeks afterwards, she said that Ellery was holding up her end of the bargain. Straight A's in school. A better daughter. A better sister. And it came down to this, folks. I knew that Sarah wasn't lying to me. I knew she wasn't trying to get a free meal, if you will, out of the deal. And so for some folks might ask, well, why'd you do that, Hunter? What the hell's the matter with you? Right? Because it's not always about doing things right. Sometimes it's about doing the right thing. And at the time, and even though I'm not at Freak Factory right now, I know we did the right thing. Because it was no longer a business to consumer interaction. Okay? It was human to human. Ellery picked up right where she had left off prior to her mother and I having that conversation. She did the work. I mean, my God, that young lady, I thought she got after it before. She got after it in a big way. She did the work. She paid it back when she didn't even have to, right? And like I said, I'm sure you've seen her on my Instagram, right? She filmed hours and hours and hours of content with me. If you've taken my master class, right, almost all the modules have Ellery in them, right? And so the question that I guess what I would like you to consider is the impact that we can have as coaches, as practitioners, as instructors, as role models, the impact we can have on young children when passion perpetuates purpose. consider the impact, right? That impact is far larger than any dollar amount that Freak Factory would have made, right? Had we continued to charge Ellery and her family. And I'm good with that trade-off. And consider the cost if you squander those opportunities to impact a young child. Because, I mean, what would have happened? It's hard for me to imagine. I don't want to imagine. I don't want to know what might have happened had we cut ties with Ellery and her family. Would she have continued to suffer at the hands of her villains? Perhaps she'd be injury riddled. Okay, we all know the stats on untrained middle school and high school female athletes, right? Perhaps she would have never found her thing. And I couldn't live with that. And so now we fast forward to Ellery's victory. Yeah, I told you I was going to try my hardest not to well up here. If you've seen pictures of her and I, videos of Ellery, she's always smiling, happy, confident. Right? She didn't used to be that way. She could barely look at me the first day I met her, right? She's a different person now. She's confident. She's smiling all the time. And she's not just surviving, she's thriving. In high school now. She's in high school now. Time flies, right? Thriving in high school, thriving in her sports, thriving in life. And she knows what her thing is now. She is a basketball player, and a damn good one. In fact, if I close my eyes and wait a few years, she'll probably be picking her school. Ellery went from being scared, unsure of herself, succumbing constantly to that voice in her head, whispering, do you have what it takes? Right? Do I have what it takes? And now she's successful in almost everything she does. And I'm quoting Vernon Griffith when I say this. But there is nothing scarier today than a young woman who is confident and comfortable in her own skin. Because it is that young woman who will change the world. And I have no doubt that Ellery will do just that. She may not know this, but that was one of the... Excuse me. I told you guys you'd see the real me on this shit, right? she may not know this, but leaving for Arizona, knowing I may not see her again, it's tough. I just have to make peace with hoping that I was able to play a small role in her life, which is all we can ever do as coaches in this industry, right? At some point, your athletes are going to leave you. They can't train with you forever. At some point, you may leave them. The results will come. If you build the relationship. And that's what they'll remember you for. Your relationship. And that's what it's all about, folks. Don't waste the opportunity to make an impact by having your passion perpetuate your purpose. Do the right thing. Because at the end of the day, it is a human-to-human interaction. Treat it as such. That's all I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed that. If you ever need help with something relationship based, right, when it comes to athletes or what to do, you're unsure, please email me, reach out. Because that's my purpose, right? If there's a chance for me to help children, I'm going to drop everything and do it. So. Next week, we're going to get into some agility stuff. So, I hope I will see you then. But until then, sprint or die. And remember, passion perpetuates purpose. Love you, Ellery. Bye.
This week's episode of Sprint or Die Radio has now come to an end. Make sure to set your podcatcher now and never miss another second. And remember, passion perpetuates purpose. Join us again next time.